Hi, welcome to Far From Eden. Well, today we're going to talk about an oldie but a goodie, right? Actually, it's an essential. It's not just a goodie. The hot, crazy matrix. All you guys know what that is. If you don't, you must be very new, and welcome. We're going to talk about it today and analyze it, and I'm going to give my take on it that has changed, since, well, I didn't know what it was since before Red Pill, had no idea. Literally had no idea. Most normie women, I can't speak for Gen Z, but many normie women do not actually know that there is a hot, crazy matrix that you guys all know. It's just sort of an understanding. And I would say, even if you've never heard of the hot, crazy matrix, you already kind of have figured it out. Why is it a thing? You know what I mean? We're going to talk about that. I'm going to tell you why I think it's a thing, because it clearly is. There's clearly a relationship between the hotter the woman, the crazier she is. It just seems to be. So I'm going to give my take on that and that whole unicorn section and just the whole thing. But also, it's been a while since I've seen it. And somebody in the comments said, "Oh, you like home math, do you?" Well, what was his? He said, home math, writes, sticks his finger in dog poop and writes, compared to this man. And I was like, maybe I don't know the hot, crazy matrix. So I looked up exactly what he told me to look up. And I was like, no, this is what I saw before, but I saw it with new eyes. And I want to go over that with you guys and talk about the very crucial lessons to take away from that hot, crazy matrix. So without further ado, let's check it out. You can never get old. You can never watch it too many times as a man because, well, you could just, when you stand to lose everything you have or be falsely accused or what have you, you can't be too cautious, can you? And my thing is, if you're looking for a needle in a needle stack, what's the point of exhausting yourself doing that? But anyway, oh gosh, it's so much better watching this stuff with you guys. And by the way, if you hear a little zh in the background, I'm trying to have a happy medium and see if I can get away with having the air on like a different, like low fan setting so that I don't have to get quite so warm when I make these videos. We're gonna see. If it's horrible, we'll forget it and I will just, try to get it. I'll just do what I was doing before and tough it out and come up with different things. But we're just gonna see. We'll see how this does. It's an experiment going forward. I would not want to, not come to you guys on a day that I didn't feel so great, and I also couldn't keep it cool enough for me here. So it's an experiment. I appreciate your understanding, because I am not a real YouTuber. So it's hilarious to think. Anyway, let's check it out. So this is on a tactical channel, which is so funny. I'd never realized that before. That completely escaped me, that it's a tactical channel. That's brilliant. It's not even a red pill channel, right? It's a tactical thing, but this is tactical for men, as they said. Brilliant, just brilliant. All right.
Hey everybody, James Yeager here with Tactical Response, and I got the terrorist mouthpiece with me. This is go introduce yourself.
I'm Dana McClendon. I am the consigliere to the Camden Mafia and the terrorist mouthpiece.
But what are we going to talk about? What are you going to talk about today?
Today's lesson it's a little off the beaten path of tactical response, but it's still something that you can use every day. This is the hot, crazy matrix. It's what you need to know about how to deal with women and how to analyze the situation that you may be in or want to be in.
Okay, let's take a look at that right now.
Okay, so this is the Universal Hot Crazy Matrix. It's everything a young man needs to know about women. I've developed this on my own over 46 years of living on the earth. So
I appreciate that he's the same age as me when he made this video. 46 years of living on the earth. Exactly. Exactly. Don't come at us with, well, you don't know that, and you don't know, statistics don't come on now. Water's wet, sky is blue, and the hot crazy matrix. And yeah, he's just so enjoyable, this man. He's just like, this is not hate, right? This is not hate. This is not, oppression of women. This is not all women are horrible people. This isn't like, it's not that. He's not saying that. So I would imagine this is a video. You know how we've read the articles where they talk about, oh, big bad Jordan Peterson, oh, scary Andrew Tate. They try to put a caricature, because it's not Jordan Peterson. He's not what they say he is, right? And none of us really look at Andrew Tate in the way that they like to say it. But this guy, what are you going to say about him? It'd be pretty difficult. Be pretty difficult to be like, oh, he's got a, they can't call him a pick-me girl. That's what I get. Or internal misogyny. That's what I get too. Like, wow. All right.
So this is how it works. You have your crazy axis and your hot axis. Hot is, as usual, measured from 0 to 10. We're all familiar with that.
Oh, hold on. I just remembered something else I wanted to tell you. This is a real life story from several years back. I was talking with this couple that I knew very well. I especially knew the woman very well. And I don't know why I thought, let's talk about things. That's just me. And I said something about the hot, crazy matrix. And my friend, who's a girl, who's a woman, had no idea what I was talking about. She'd never heard of it. And I began to explain and say, well, you know how men rate women on a scale of 1 to 10, da, 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 da. No idea. Now, this was before the Whatever podcast, and it was probably before Fresh and Fit and all that. I didn't even know there was anything on YouTube besides like cat videos, and I had no idea what YouTube really was. I was a normie. Oh my God, it's embarrassing. But she had no idea that men rate women on a scale of 1 to 10. She had no idea. And she had never heard of the hot crazy matrix. Now, her husband, on the other hand, was extremely familiar with all of it. And I thought, this is so interesting. First of all, clearly they don't talk. But second of all, your normie women just going about their lives, like, they don't know this stuff. And like I said, I can't really speak for Gen Z, who have been on the internet since forever. But Gen Xers and even some millennials, like, for women, it's just not on their radar. They just don't get it. Like, look at this. Even on those podcasts, like Whatever podcast and Fresh and Fit and everything, the women are confused about the rating system that the men use. They don't seem to understand this is looks only, right? It's how you look. It's objective, and it's how you look. They're factoring in personalities. They're factoring in, their degree, their job, their wisdom, whatever else. They're factoring all this stuff in when rating 1 to 10. Throwing a bunch more things in there that can tip the scales away from objective beauty. And that's partly because they of course want to control how they're seen. They want to control how men view them. But I don't know if they're realizing it yet, but just declaring it won't work. But the thing about the 1 to 10, we are so light years away from each other. Men are they think more like this man, and like home math, it's categories, it's, rankings, and it's very, logical and objective. And we just don't think like that. And it seems like a lot of women are having a gigantic time accepting that you guys do think like that and that it's not going to change. So yeah, women don't know this. They don't know about this at all.
Crazy is measured from 4 to 10 because, of course, there's no such thing as a woman who's not at least a 4 crazy. So you got 4 to 10. This is your hot crazy line right here. Very important that you keep in mind where the hot crazy line is. As a rule, this is your no-go zone. We do not hang around and date and marry women who are not, at least in our mind, a 5. So this is your no-go zone. You don't go here. We just rule this out. Life is better this way. That's the way it is. All right. Above.
I love it. I swear. Okay, call me. You want to call me a pick-me girl for this? Go ahead. But that is so. I love men for that. We do not go here. There's no feeling. He doesn't feel any particular, well, maybe he does, but it's not irrelevant. So we just don't, we don't do this. End of story. That's what it is. Life is much better. And that's an important key. Life is much better. And so many of you men have figured this out. When you have to, for lack of a better word, settle for, less than a wife for you, it's not worth it. It's really not. Not in this day and age, not when they have all the power of the state. It's not worth it. So definitely rule that out. It's so matter of fact. We women would be doing so much better if we ordered our lives thinking this way, thinking, okay, these are the facts and this is what we need to do. I know you guys are like, yeah, why don't you? We're not wired that way. And that's a big reason why for a very long time, women couldn't get credit cards. Women couldn't open bank accounts. Women didn't own property. Women, for a long time. Now, not all women, it wasn't illegal for a woman to own property, but you couldn't, they had protections for society, for families, and for the women themselves against themselves. I hope that made sense. I hope I didn't say it backwards, but you guys know what I mean.
Of a 5 and to about an 8, and below the crazy line, this is your fun zone. You can hang out here and meet these girls and spend time with them. That's your fun zone. But keep in mind, when you're in the fun zone, you want to move out of the fun zone to a more permanent location. Okay? So that's the fun zone. Above a 5, hot. Below an 8, hot. And below the crazy line. This means these are most of the time not crazy. Okay? Above the danger zone, above the crazy line, we have the danger zone. This is your redheads, your strippers, anyone named Tiffany. This is hairdressers. This is where your car gets keyed. You get a bunny in the pot. Your tires get slashed, and you wind up in jail.
He's so matter of fact. The delivery is just brilliant. Bunny in the pot, anybody named Tiffany. So funny. And the guy off camera calls out hairdressers. So funny. Can we add horse girls to that list? Right? I mean, I grew up as an equestrian, was horse trainer for so many, I know what I'm talking about. And I want to know, like, where am I on the hot crazy? Like, where am I on the crazy? Because like he said, there's no woman below 4. He's right. I agree with that. We'll talk about why that is after he does his presentation. Why are women 4 crazy? Why does the hot and the crazy go up together? And why is it universally understood?
Now that we have some of the chart filled in, we got a couple more pieces to put in. But at this point, understand something. This is not a static environment. This is a situation where you have got to use this matrix over time to develop some reliable data. It's like a dope chart, okay? Because at any moment in time, any woman that you have previously located on this chart can vanish from that location and appear anywhere else on the chart. So what you have to do is over time, collect some data. And once you have a cluster of data points, you can begin to consider that reliable. Now, moving on, you have this zone here. This is below the crazy line, above an 8 hot, but still, about a 7 crazy. This is your date zone. You can stay in the date zone indefinitely. These are women that you introduce to your friends and your family. They're good looking and they're reasonably not crazy most of the time. Okay, so you can stay here indefinitely.
Most of the time. It's so funny. It's most of the time. They're like, well, she has her crazy moments, but I figured out how to, talk her down, diffuse the situation, and it never gets above a certain level. Like, that to me, just seeing how you guys see it, it's just, I don't know why women get so mad at this. I don't know why they think it's an insult to them. Because, I don't know, when I first heard of it, I was like, oh, good. This is information that I can use to look at myself and think, oh, wait a minute. Where are my issues? Where are my problems? Let me take an honest look, as honest as is humanly possible or womanly possible. Sorry. So sorry. But, and that's why I said, in the middle of being red-pilled and sort of after, it's an interesting, I never rejected it entirely. I just didn't fully appreciate everything that he's saying and the way men think. Now, I so appreciate it. I'm just absolutely tickled. But it's sad because how are you gonna find? How are you gonna find anything that is acceptable in real life from this chart?
Now, above an 8 hot and between about a 7 and a 5 crazy, this is your wife zone. Okay? When you meet this girl, you should consider a long-term relationship. This zone is not scaled to size. This is a representation and not an actual. This is not a pie chart showing you how many of these people are out there. This is simply a representation of what you're after.
Because you'd need a microscope. If it was a representation of how many are out there, you'd need a microscope, a powerful one, for that group he's talking about. And even more powerful microscope for one of the next groups he's going to talk about.
You want to be 5 to 7 crazy above an 8 hot. That's your wife zone. Okay. Now, below a 5 crazy and above an 8 hot, this is your unicorn zone. These things don't exist. If you find a unicorn, please capture it safely, keep it alive, we'd like to study it and maybe look at how to replicate that. Okay. So I was explaining this to a guy one time, and he said, wait a minute. I met this girl, and she's like smoking hot. She's like at least a 9, and she's chill. She's totally cool. She's like not even a 3 crazy. I said, you're telling me you've met a girl, she's a 9 hot, and she's like a 2 or a 3 crazy? He said, yeah, man, I like her a lot. I said, you should be careful. That's a dude. You're talking to a tranny. So you got to be careful, because down here below a 4 crazy and above an 8 hot, you're probably talking to a dude. That is the universal hot crazy matrix.
All right, Dana, that was pretty good. Now, let me ask you, like, for the women watching, is there a male version of that? I mean, would it also be?
Oh yeah, it's a little simpler.
If a dude is super hot, okay.
Yeah, it's a little simpler, but we can do it real quick. It doesn't take very long at all. For women, this is your matrix. You got your cute act.
I forgot this part. I forgot he does like a cute, rich matrix for the women. Ooh, forgot.
And you got your money axis, okay?
Oh.
And if you have, there's only 3 sections. Women have a very large no-go zone. This is for dudes who are neither hot nor have a lot of money. You'll notice over here, this is the husband section. Once you cross a line and have sufficient amounts of money, it is no longer relevant how hot you are. And then women have a fun zone here where a dude is broke but hot. That is the cute versus rich matrix for women's use.
There you go. Remember, your responsibility to be ready to date hot bitches never ends.
It was a pen drop. Ah, that's so funny. Now see, that's cute. I don't know. I'm weird. Maybe unusual. You know, the nerdiness, the intelligence. I don't know. That's cute. But he's right. That is what I have observed. Is if he has enough money, the hotness, the cuteness doesn't matter. Look at Hugh Hefner or any, this is also known. This is 46 years of living on this earth. I'm going to start saying that. 46 years of living on this earth, if he's hot enough. But the bad boy thing is sort of new to me. This need for women to gravitate towards bad boys. And I said once in a video, I've never really had that. I like the preppy ones, etc. I never really had that. The bad boy thing really always put me off, and still does. And one of you guys commented and said, no, it's the bad boys for you. Who are your bad boys? And I have been thinking about that, trying to figure that out ever since. I don't have a lot of dating experience. That was, back in high school, college, and a couple guys I dated, after that to kind of see if I was wrong before about, there not being anybody out there who would want me as a wife, etc., because of multiple sclerosis, blah, blah, blah. It's not the point, but in case this is your first video ever watching, I just want you to understand what I'm saying and why I'm saying it. So I was like, well, what is it? What is it? And I thought, one thing that absolutely never impressed me was money. In fact, it could be quite off-putting, but it all depends on, so much depends on who the father was and what he was, what he had, what he provided, etc. And my dad was a self-made man, came from nowhere, and, built himself up and established himself. Didn't go to college, all this stuff. And he was like, sort of an underdog. Maybe I'm going to figure this out right now with you guys in this video. Didn't occur to me, but I haven't really talked to anybody about it. And Jordan Peterson says, I think I learned it from him, that when you speak about something or write about something, you're thinking about something. But yeah, it was sort of like an underdog type of situation, you know? And anyway, that's still something that I'm trying to figure out, because I feel like I have access to a woman brain. And if I'm going to try to translate for you guys, figure out what's going on out there, I can use this to help us figure out like what went wrong, what's going on now, and how do we get out of this? Do we get out of this without a giant collapse of society? But why are women crazy? Why is it that you're, as a woman, as this man said, you start at a 4? And you can also, there's 2 questions. Why do women start at a 4 crazy? And was it always that way? No, it wasn't always that way. And we start at a 4 crazy because in society, when you basically you're given immunity from consequences as it compares to men and life's consequences, right? When you're given immunity from that, and that starts when we're kids, when we are being raised, and, you know, our daddy simps for us, and, you know, oh, my princess deserves the world, and oh, princess is crying, so we have to make it better, even if it's princess's fault, right? Daddy comes to the rescue all the time for anything. And it's never princess's fault. So what do you think that does to somebody? How do you think they grow up? How do you think their brain is wired, right? They are like, it's not my fault. I shouldn't have to suffer. I shouldn't have to, you know, justice doesn't apply to me, right? It's immediate. In schools, with the way teachers treat girls different than boys. And I didn't know that. I had to learn that from men telling me. The boys got in trouble, the girls didn't. Oh, I never noticed, but of course I didn't. Because it didn't affect me in a bad way. And it was going along with everything else. It's, you know, what are little girls made of? What are little boys made of? And it's like sugar and spice and all things nice for the girls. And for boys, it's like snails and puppy dog tails. And I remember that. I remember that from when I was in kindergarten. That's not something good. Actually, it was in my nursery rhyme book that I loved so much that I still can't find. In my children's encyclopedias, there was one that was part of it was half nursery rhymes and the other half was poetry. And I loved that book so much. And I wish we hadn't moved all over the place and I still had it. If I can find it, it's out there somewhere on Amazon or eBay or something, but it had that nursery rhyme in it. And so I learned it. Nobody was telling me any differently. My dad didn't tell me any differently. Nobody said, hey, that's wrong. You know, and that's what it creates. It also, when you're not raised properly to admire your father, appreciate your father, respect your father, etc., for the things he does, you know, the essential value he brings to the family, you grow up not appreciating men, just thinking they're there to bail you out of your situations because that's what daddy always did. And then when those men don't, oh, it's time to flip out. It's a personal affront, right? Because here's this man and he's not even taking my side. He has the nerve to say it's my fault. It doesn't matter what we're talking about. You know what I mean? He has the nerve to be upset. He has the nerve to call it out. Unheard of. And then crazy reaction. Because women are more emotional. That's not a bad thing in and of itself. It's not. Especially when we have the beautiful ability to grow life in our bodies, deliver that life through our bodies, and then nourish that life with our bodies. And then raise those children when they are small and they're around us, right? Of course we should be more emotional if we're supposed to understand the emotions of these little children, these little babies, right? Think about it. Think about the way men are great with kids, wonderful with kids. It's one of my favorite things to watch is men interacting with their small children. I love it because men are fantastic with children. It's not what I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that when there's an overabundance of emotion in the children, because there will be, the woman is capable of taking all that in, understanding it, and, sorry, I totally forgot that I didn't do this. There we go. She's first of all, she's not going to be overwhelmed by it, and she's capable of taking it all in and making sense of it, right? To say, oh, I understand what this is really about. We're actually tired. And so she has the ability to identify what the children's emotions are, explain those emotions back to the children, and teach the children, I'm talking 5 and younger, teach the children what those emotions are and what they mean and the acceptable ways to deal with them and the non-acceptable ways to deal with them. Of course, you would need the parent with that emotional intelligence. And in order to be emotionally intelligent like that, you have to, be like that. It's not a negative thing. It was designed by God for a certain role. Same reason men's shoulders are broader and they're stronger. Said, Adam, you will eat by the sweat of your brow. Eve, you will bear the children and it will be painful. We have our jobs. I'm not saying that women don't work. They need to work hard for their families in their homes. Gardens, chickens, goats, keep the house clean, homeschool the children, take care of family members, take care and serve your husband. Oh my gosh, that reminds me. Thank you. I just wanted to read you a little part from the beginning, the dedication in Rachel Wilson's book. But, sorry, ADHD a little bit, but we're rolling with it. These women are made for a beautiful role, an important role, way more important than whatever their silly college degree is in. It's so much more important than that, and it's so much more influential. Ben Franklin's mother, Thomas Jefferson's mother, there's Dostoevsky's mother. What about her? What about C.S. Lewis's mother? And you guys are going to be like, oh, I know all about that. You're going to teach me, which is wonderful because you can never learn enough or too much. So, yeah, those women. Jesus had a mom. I don't feel the same way, say Catholics do about her, but don't you think his mother was an important, influence in his life? Good Lord. We have devalued that so much, but and that's another thing. When you take women out of that role where their hormones make sense. And you say, oh, here's some birth control, and here's, a life without kids, and delay this and that, the other. What do you think is gonna happen? Nuts, absolutely crazy. And you can say, well, define crazy. I don't know. You can look at the statistics on antidepressants in America. You can look at just the behavior, like the man said. He's 46. This is a result of 46 years of experience on this earth. He has eyeballs. He sees things that are obvious. Things that are obvious for 200, Alex. That's where we are. And women are clearly crazy. Now, why do they get crazier the hotter they are? Well, I'm glad you asked, and I'm also very sorry. Because remember we talked about, well, why are they crazy in the first place? Well, they're out of their roles, but also the dads were always simping for them. Society's always simping for them. Oh, it's not your fault. Oh, da 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 da. Well, guess what? When you're pretty, they do that more. Especially even when you're little, even when you're like a little 6-year-old pretty little girl. It doesn't have to be a sexual thing. It's just adorable. And so people are falling all over themselves. Men are like, I think the younger ones are just going, what? Equal, which is hilarious because it's backfiring. But the prettier you are. So once you have reached maturity, let's say, and I don't mean 18 or 22 or 25 or whatever, but once men look at you and think, oh, she's, old enough to look at her that way, dating material, because age, I didn't look 12 when I was 12. I looked older. Just women develop faster. So when you're attractive, when you're an attractive woman, men, life is way easier. You don't get blamed for things. People want to help you all the time. It's just, so when you get to a situation where that's not the case and people aren't taking your side and they aren't helping you, it feels like absolute oppression, tyranny, unfairness. So these women, when they experience fairness, it would feel like it's not. It's going to seem like it's not because of their life experiences thus far. They don't realize that's not how it is for everyone. They really don't. Although nowadays, I think there's plenty of, young women who are online who fancy themselves a celebrity and actually think that they're special in every way. But they seem to still not understand that when life is actually fair, it just shouldn't be. That's unjust, that's wrong. And so you get a crazy reaction. You get a reaction that looks to you guys like, what? Where is this even coming from? Why? What are you doing? Right? Well, what kind of reactions? Oh, I don't know. Divorcing you after, 10, 20, 30 years. Accusing you of abuse when it's, again, 10, 20, 30 years. You're like, what? Or even after dating. You're like, how are you getting to this level of reaction? Because the way they understand life, because they were a woman, and then because they were a pretty woman, that's just elevated. I really wish I could explain what I'm saying the way Home Math does. I'd love to have a conversation with him and say, okay, can you everything I just said, can you organize it the way a man can, because my brain just doesn't work that way. It just doesn't. It's like I know what it has to do to organize it that way. It's like when I try to think like very spatially, like rotate complex things in my mind, my brain just like can't. And it's frustrating because I know it's there, I know what it has to do, and I just can't do it. It's not wired to do it that way. Women's brains just aren't set up that way. And so, especially in the role we're in feminist gynocentric society, yeah, it's gonna create crazy people. It's absolutely gonna create crazy people who do irrational, dangerous things. Now, the most important thing that he said in that video that men need to be careful of is that this is not static. It's not static. So a woman who's on the hot crazy matrix on a dot, right? Wherever she is right there, that is not where she's going to stay. And so his advice was you have to take several, you have to take in some data before you really know where she is. And I will say to you, and I'm sorry, but you never know where she is on that scale. You just don't. You can't. That's why I'm like the MGTOW monk, because it's not safe to join up your life with somebody who has the ability to move the dot to ultra crazy. You just haven't seen her in a scenario where she's been challenged or stressed to see what their reaction is. If only there was a way to sort of, they said before, like, don't, marry somebody until you see what it's like when they've got, they've got like a computer problem or something won't work and they're really frustrated. It's like that, but you need to know, like, some earth-shattering thing happens. What does she do? Because you can't just go by, oh, her car broke down, or oh, this happened. How can you test it? Because it isn't going to be little things. So, for example, let's say you're with a woman. She seems like, well, we've been going out for a year, and I keep, plotting her dot on the scale, on the graph is, in the good zone. Limited amount of crazy, and she's attractive. But here's the thing. So let's say you think, okay, let's marry this woman. And then, I don't know, a few years in, you lose your job. What's the reaction? Don't know. It's not like you can ask her, because she's not going to say the truth. We're the queens of hypothetical situations. And you guys answer them honestly, most of the time. I mean, unless you're just trying to, sleep with a girl, but you're way more honest about the hypothetical stuff. But the woman isn't going to be. She knows what you're asking. She knows what you're testing, and she's going to pass the test because she knows what the answers are that you want. Most women know what a man wants to hear when he says something, asks a question, or just when he doesn't. They know. It's instinctual. It's really weird. It's weird. But cross-culturally and through time, women know how to talk to men. It's not difficult. But anyway, so that's my take on the hot, crazy matrix, you guys. And I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say. The comments I made and the things I wanted to add to it, like, why are women so crazy? Why are we all so nuts? I don't want to be nuts. But, wanting it to be a certain way and it being a certain way that's not how it is. That's not life. And thank goodness, my dad, now he did kind of do like, well, my princess wants this, my princess is sad. He never called me his princess. Oh my gosh, no way. But he did that, I would say, too much. But also, man, if I was wrong or I wasn't, he would point it out. Like, there were definite criticisms, probably too far the other way, but I'd rather it be that now that I know how differently most women were raised. Anyway, this is what I wanted to share with you guys, since we're talking about the books that we're reading, and I'm waiting on Esther Vilar's book, The Manipulated Man, because I thought it was going to come in Wednesday. Yesterday came in, or it's coming in next, actually Tuesday. So I was like, well, I just finished Live Not by Lies, which I highly recommend, and about resisting communism with Christianity. Anyway, so yes, this is next on the agenda, but this is the last dedication. She has several, people she's dedicating the book to, and her last one is, and to Andrew, without you, this book would not have been possible. One lifetime to love and serve you is not enough. All my love forever and ever. Love it. Love and serve you. She's a happy woman. She thinks independently. This is feminism is not in our interest. It's not. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining me. It is Independence Day today, and I hope that, excuse me, I forget. We have friends in all over the world. Hi, Juan from Madrid. And I forget. But it is Independence Day here in the United States. And holidays, any type of holidays where families get together, I always think of you guys. I think of the men who don't have anyone, don't have families, or victims of divorce. I just hate it for you guys. And I think about men, or like, is this your first 4th of July where, you're not with your kids? I can't help but think about that. It's just awful. It's so awful. My family, and I think it's similar, that we used to have our family reunions around this sort of the July time. And I don't know if anybody does family reunions anymore. I mean, it was always like so many people, and it was a big, it was a big thing, and we would come home, we would travel because we never lived, close to family. But anyway, imagine that was thing that your family did, is went to your family reunions, et cetera, and then say it's your wife's family. It was your wife's family because it was my mom's family. And then what if you get divorced? And then now that's your 4th of July that you used to do. And now you're just alone. It's awful. And then there's the men that never had the opportunity because, it's too dangerous out there to commit your life to someone who has the power of the state to take it all away on a whim. So, all of you guys, I appreciate you. I hope you're having a good day. I hope you are protecting your peace. And I hope that you have found something to feed your soul today. And I'm going to see you guys on the next one. Take care. Bye.